Welcome to the Pricing Lady podcast, where smart business owners price with purpose, profit with clarity, and go get paid. Today, I'm excited to have a special guest with us. Please help me welcome Adriana Daragon, founder of GTM Advantage. Hi, Adriana.
Hello, Janine. Nice to talk to you again.
I'm excited to have you here with us today. Why don't we start this a little, and you can give us some context into the kind of work you do and what people usually come to you for.
Sure. I'm focusing really with working with technical founders. So it's really in business to business space. There are a lot of great companies who have great technologies. They have spent a lot of time on developing those products. But the big challenge we have that the commercial questions come very last minute. It's not the core focus area a lot of times. They focus, and this is the comfort zone of developing new products, tech solutions. And that's where I really enjoy coming and working together with the founders, because actually having those conversations earlier can really help to shape the technology a better way, and this early traction can help to validate and get this important growth early on as well. I'm really see this as a big challenge, and then the same opportunity for the founders to focus on all the commercials aspects, and they are different, those aspects, depending on the company stage.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, of course, we'll get into the pricing aspect of things, but of course, I see this in pricing as well.
Yeah.
Being also in the commercial space, it's not first thing that they want to pay attention to. Yeah.
Correct. But that's very important.
Third.
When it starts to, this is, I think, yes, pricing is a lot about
Yeah.
the value perception.
It's fair to say that in any industry, whether it be a tech company or coaching, really doesn't matter what, no matter who you are, you tend to stay in your comfort zones. It's a normal thing to do, but that's why it's good to have people like you and I help, pull you out into a space that you're not necessarily accustomed to and to be able to help you through that.
Yes.
So, when you started your business, what was it like for you the first time you had to create an offer and set a price for it?
I think one thing was, for me, I come from business development and marketing background. One thing, I was really comfortable selling company products. That's really the different thing is when you are a founder and you have your own offers, and that's very much linked to your own, very close to your identity. It's like really what you had created. So that's quite emotional journey for me as well, was the pricing journey of learning, okay, now how do I price my offers as a fractional marketing or revenue officer. That's very different versus when I was selling. And that's, I think it is, I hear that a lot from my friends, colleagues, and clients, because it's links to their perceived also value, also what they are working on. So it carries quite a significant weight.
Yeah, it does. And when you started, what did you anchor your prices to? How did you make that decision what to charge?
For me, I would say first I looked more, I played a little bit more tactically in the beginning as well. It was more research phase, and looking what are the benchmarks. That's like a more like rationally, how can I justify versus what is really my offer around, is more like looking externally what's the market. And that gave some insights, but it gave insights about others, not me. And that was the learning when I worked on the more clients I had, the more also I fine-tuned the offer. That's, and then knowing what the value I provide, the actual results, that helps afterwards look backwards and see the pricing. So then it becomes much more anchored in this value I can provide to the clients. It is a journey, and I that's very different, and for each one is also personally the growth journey, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's you made a really important point there, that it's not just about the external part, it's about the internal part and what you offer and what you bring to the table. And sometimes when you're starting, I think that's really hard to define what that is.
Correct. Correct. That's why like it's easier somehow to look externally. Okay, what are our offering? A lot of things are not online, and this is for the obvious reasons. This is what becomes a little bit as well guessing game.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And when you started your business, did you start in advisory and consulting, or you really started in this fractional space?
I had a mix. I had a mix, and it took me a journey to figure it out what I want to do. So when I moved from the corporate to the startup, but as an employee, heading the marketing operations, and that helped me to understand a little bit different setup from the corporate to the startup. So this is a different world, but still at the capacity of being employee, and that helped me to understand a little bit of also the dynamics. What do I want to work on? And that for me was I really believe in there are a lot of information there, but the actual results happen from doing, not just knowing, but actually doing. And that's a lot about as well where I felt instead of just a consulting of what ideal picture would look like, I want also to be part as a experienced operator. I know how things need, what makes them happen, and that's when I started with this mindset. I want to also go through an implementation phase. It was a mix. It was the mix, some shorter term contracts, but it was focused more on this fractional CMO model.
Okay. Okay. And for someone who's listening but doesn't know what we're talking about when we talk about fractional, maybe you can enlighten us a bit and share more about the difference between that and, say, consulting or advisory.
Correct. So I can definitely share, and it's rather new, I would say, especially in Europe. It comes from US, this model much more, and that's really thinking about giving the flexibility to the companies how they can get the senior talent to drive the needed changes or results in the company without the cost of a full-time employee. So it's really attractive model, especially for the companies who either don't have yet the full-time senior leaders in the team, and therefore for a lot of times good reasons. It's not a lot of times it's not the right time for them to hire, and it's more about really having someone coming and bringing the senior expertise, building the strategies, and the leadership, managing the team, structuring processes in the right way so that it achieves the next goals. And that it's really fluid model, which is really can be more like few months, it can be 6 months or 1 year, and it's very much adjusted based on the company needs.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'd like to shift gears here for a moment and talk about, because you've worked with a lot of companies, you've seen underneath the hood, we say. You can start, first of all, by telling us a little bit more about what that is and where GTM and pricing connect.
Go-to-market is all the funnel of how you basically show up in the market and then get the customers and how the customers experience your products. Thinking about the sales, marketing, delivery, operations, and really working closely with the product. And pricing is a very important part, like to answer that, because the pricing is a very important piece of, I would say, the value perception as well. And when we talk about the pricing, we go back to the positioning. We have to go back to what is the offer, what you are delivering. So our customer understanding. So these are they are very interlinked.
Yeah, they are. Actually going to follow up with a question, but I think you may have even kind of answered it there. Maybe you have more to say. It's, at what point are startups, scale ups, are they realizing or making the connection how strongly the go-to-market strategy and their pricing are tied together? Or even in cases they're actually the same decisions.
Yeah, they are really one of the most crucial elements to think about, and pricing is important to think before you have those conversations with a client. Instead of really thinking just you have an actual meeting with a customer tomorrow and what should we do about it. It's more about did you have the right conversations prior with a customer, which will help you to make the right pricing proposition. So this is very linked to much as well. I would say in startups and scale-ups, it's a part of a journey of learning the customers, understanding them customers, and they iterate. They iterate through a lot because it also depends what they learn, what they get more traction with. Definitely this it's not set in stone but it's a moving target. It can be definitely.
For you, what's a telltale sign that go-to-market strategy is unclear in a company?
When we talk about numbers, first, like if it's really about, do they actually know where the next biggest chunk of revenue is coming from? Do they really know as well what do they need to do to get those customers? Do they have a repeatable system to get them? So this is almost like does the management team and founders can sleep calmly at night because they know that if something happens, they know, and it's really the common understanding across all the team what needs to happen to win those deals and to get the next deals in the pipeline. If not, it's a sign that there is quite a way to work on, especially as a company grows. There are different needs. As a company grows, the team grows, there are more clients, there is a different needs between the clients, you need to segment even them further. So this is where it becomes, is it really predictable? I would say this is the question can help really understand at which stage is. And then we deep dive more of what will make it more predictable.
Is it more driven by the internal functions or is it more driven by the external part?
I would say it's both, especially I would say externally, it's like eyes and ears. Who are working marketing, sales, they need to be in touch with the market. This is really, you need to know the customer, sometimes even better than they know themselves. This is for me the biggest shift I see in the companies who really start to grow exponentially is if they are explaining the pain points, the problems, and what's the value they can provide to a customer with the solutions in a very easy way that it's and they know the customer better, so that the customer says, aha, you really got this. And that takes a lot of effort to make this work, but that's very much externally focused. They're on the clients, on the market, knowing what are the options customers are thinking, also how the companies operate beyond just really the small area of your solution, how it contributes, knowing a little bit the full space the customer is operating in. And that's, I would say, still externally is here the big crucial part, which is very easy sometimes to forget and focus on internal work. Why I'm saying it's still important is because once you hear what is outside, is also like this kind of bringing that back together. What internally, what does it mean? I believe in very close work with a product team. That is very important to strengthen the products and that teams don't work in silos. So this is where it's important not only carry that information themselves alone, but is also able to communicate that back to the internally, that the rest of the team can learn and really also take the important learnings in the areas they work, especially on a product, but it can be also customer service or other areas which will enriching the reality with actual reality outside.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say something similar. You have to understand the customer, but you have to be able to translate that back into what to do internally in order to be able to face the customer with the right pieces in place, let's say. I'm curious in your experience when it comes to funded startups. There is a real relationship between, at least there is, in my opinion, maybe you see it differently, so you can say so if that's the case. But there's a relationship between the price and trust and what that actually looks like. And I'm curious about your take on that.
Yes, I would say there is a big relationship between price and trust, and trust is about perceived value, and the perceived value is also how we perceive the provider of a product or service. So it's about the credibility, authority. Do they trust you can deliver? Is it and what risks it carries? And the same trust, can they get the result? Can they get the actual result? And more times than less, I see that lowering the prices, discounting, in order to hit the short-term goals, sales targets, is actually really damages the trust long-term. It focuses on hitting the short-term targets, but not really building the client relationship to have a sustainable business moving forward. This is very paramount. This trust is very linked to the positioning, perceived value, and that's really, it takes time to build this, and but it's very easy to take it away.
What signals do you think founders tend to misread from their clients that leads to this breakdown in trust? Aside from, you mentioned the pricing there, but is there something, are there other things that are happening?
I would say, so linked to more about this topic, it would be very much if the typical objection is either it's not the right time, it's too expensive, and then typically it leads to not clear value. No, that instead of reworking or either discounting or either pushing for extra additions, it's a lot of times it's about not deep understanding of a client and what do they have the real sense of urgency. Is it a nice to have for them, or really they see that this is what needs to happen now? This is where a lot of sales stall, because they might be the right client, but not at the right time.
Right.
And founders then see what we can make it from their offer, how we can change offer to sweeten the deal in the hopes of yes. But it really actually ends up in the yes if there was not. It was much more about decision-making process, about somebody else would object to the purchasing. So this deeper understanding, going a few levels deeper in the conversations, understanding who are the really decision makers, who is in a full buying committee, what are even the objections. That's much, I would say, the area a lot of founders don't spend time. It's not comfortable, and it's also clients typically would not jump in the share that information. And here, the trust is important. If it's really, they see that especially the champions, if there are champions, that's the very important part. The bigger company, it's if you succeed to get the champion, and the champion understands the value you can provide, he can go and sell internally. But to get to that point, it requires work.
Yeah. When I first started my business, I had a lead magnet around that's too expensive. And one of the things that I used to share with people is that when someone says that's too expensive or it's not right now, usually it's a sign it's not a priority. And dropping the price doesn't help it become more of a priority, right? But it does call into question in the customer's mind later on. Oh, well, they dropped their price, so is it really worth what they were originally going to charge me? And I think it erodes the trust as well. I find it very interesting.
And I
And
see this combination, but not priority for this specific outcome. But
right,
there are a lot of times, especially when we are talking in people are keen, why we invent have a conversation first at the first place is because this is the interest for them. It's
right,
just there is what's the sequence, what is the most important. And I had seen this part when deeper understanding of what they see as a first priority will, and then changing maybe there are like some fine tunes in also the product. Just sometimes it's like just few additional either adoption phases, cleaning the
right.
data before, like for
Or
example, for
changing even the focus, right?
correct,
Like you're
that will,
emphasizing this, but they really want that. It's hard. Yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it completely changes for them as well. This deeper understanding of a customer that changes and pushes this barrier through. Okay,
Mhm.
now this is what not the priority for, because they envision you as step 3 of their or where they want to go, but how you can show that you are actually can help them to get from where they are today, not where they will
Mhm.
be in 1 year. That
Mhm.
we can really shape the conversation differently.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's start wrapping this up today. What's one thing you hope lands with the listeners today?
I think that thinking about the pricing, go-to-market, commercial aspects, it's a really ongoing journey, and it depends on the stage of the company. So there is no escape about it to make this company successful. It's more about how do you also make this a habit of really listening to the clients, having the right questions, because it's a lot about the right questions, and willingness to listen can help you really to speed up your journey.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. I love it. What's next for GTM Advantage?
Now it's the second year, and we are building more as well for scale solutions for the go-to-market, because go-to-market space changes rapidly as well.
Mm,
So I'm really learning in this space as we go as well. Uh,
excellent. If people would like to find out more about you or get in contact with you, where should they reach out?
the best way, I would say, it's our website, gtmadvantage.ch,
Okay.
and that's where you can find also information and reach out directly.
Excellent. So we'll pop that into the show notes for you all. Adriana, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Janine. Yes, I really enjoyed it as well.
Mhm. And thanks to those of you who are listening today. If you want to support the show, the number one way you can do that is to share this episode on social media and tag me and Adriana. That really helps get the word out. Thank you for joining us. I wish you a great day. Now, go get paid.